another false god in your book. This god is called the Enchantress.
Yes.
What is the name in the Bible?
In the Bible, she's called Ashtoreth. In Mesopotamia, she's called Ishtar. When she went into the Greek land, she was called Aphrodite, and then Venus. She is all over. And she's mentioned specifically there. Now, in the Canaanite mythology, she's actually the wife of Baal. So Baal has a wife. Okay, and so when Baal comes, the next one to come, it says in the Bible says Baal, then it says Ashtoreth. Then she's coming in. So what this means is once the door is open, she is the goddess of sexuality, of sexual immorality. She's the goddess, she's actually called a prostitute. She's the goddess who her temples were filled with sexuality, it was made it public. So if she returns, what would happen? If she comes out, it means that America is going to undergo a sexual revolution. That is the sign of the possession of Ishtar, or this goddess. And the thing is, so sex comes, what she did, what a prostitute is she actually damages marriage. She actually weakens marriage. That's what happens. Brings sexuality into the culture. In ancient times in Israel, in the Middle East, she put her images of naked people all over the culture.
So we're not dealing with a brilliant strategy of man.
No.
That has concocted a plan that things are moving so fast into paganism. No. We are dealing with something stronger than man. Yeah. Principalities and powers of darkness. Have you ever wondered why things are turning dark so fast? It's because too many people have yielded to these principalities.
It is, to quote on, it is truly supernatural, and that's what's happening. And so, not only, she was, in her Greek form, she gave birth to a child named Eros. We get the word erotica. So erotica starts flooding America. The word for prostitute, which is what she was, in her Greek incarnation, is the word porne. We get the word porn from it. So there's an explosion of pornography all over the culture. So what Baal does, in one sense, she's repaganized, she's overturning biblical standards of sexuality and marriage, and she is paganizing our culture through sexuality and through possessing it. And she's also the goddess of spells and witchcraft. So she casts her spell on America, and we are still in it to this day.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We are seeing people that should know better, that should not be making decisions like they're making. They're going against, for lack of a better word, they're going against science. Of course, they're going against the Bible, but they're even going against science. It's because there's a witchcraft maze, haze, if you will, over them, fog. It makes no sense to someone that doesn't have that fog.
Yeah, it's irrational. It's not natural at all. Yeah, and it goes further, Sid, because something strange about the goddess, and that has to do with gender. Because what she also did, let me tell you, in her ancient inscriptions, I'm looking at these ancient inscriptions, she says, I am a woman, I am a man. It says, it's said in her hymns, it says she has the power to transform a man into a woman and a woman into a man. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen if she comes into the culture? You're going to start seeing what she's going to do is she's going to start masculinizing women, defeminizing women, and feminizing men. That touches everything. I mean, it touches our culture, touches the roles, touches radical feminism and sexuality. And so all this stuff that we're having, saying, how could this happen? This is all the goddess. It's all there.
How in the world did you figure all of this out?
Well, I don't take any credit for figuring it. It's just something, God shows me one thing, and then the next thing, I'm like, I'm the first one to be blown away by it. And Sid, it even goes further. She had a priesthood. Her priests, listen to this, in her temples, were men who dressed up as women. And they acted as women dressed up. So what's going to happen if she comes back? What's going to happen is, as she possesses a culture, is that men will start dressing. We'll start seeing that in our culture, which we do. These are her ancient priesthood. Also, they were involved in same-sex sexuality. We see that explosion as well. Also, it says, remember, she says she turns men into women, transitions them, and women into men. Many of her priests were actually surgically altered. She caused them to be surgically altered.
I never knew that. Yes. I thought that was just something of our gender.
Well, we do it more sophisticated, but this is why I wrote this book. This is to reveal and arm believers and to know what's happening. And she especially, all the gods, but they go after the children, because if you have the children, you have the future. And so that happened in ancient times, happening now. And so you think, what would possess an adult to do this to children? Well, what would possess it? The spirit. The spirit of the goddess. And I'm going to go even farther because this is mind-boggling. And that is that the goddess was in charge, she was a goddess of parades. She had parades happening all over. And when I looked at the ancient inscriptions of the parades, it describes them, and it says in the parades, the men would dress up as women in the parades, the women would dress as men. It would be a parade of gender bending, and that's exactly what, when you see this happening now, that's the sign of the goddess. And Sid, it's even like more mind-boggling because I'm looking at this, and I look at the ancient observers, and they said, when did this thing happen? They said it happened, even St. Jerome, it happened in the month, they called it in Latin, Junium. June was the month of the goddess. She claimed a month, June, and she was the goddess of pride. So we have now a pride month. It's all come back. This is something, through these things, through these festivals, she possesses a culture. And that's the sign that she has come back.
Now, you say the gods are even influencing the rulings of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And they've determined the exact timing of those rulings?
Yeah, this blew me away. Yes. Yeah. Since these things happened, there's been 3 landmark cases that have to do with gender and, all these things, same-sex and marriage. The first one was in 2003, had to do with legalizing. It happened in the ancient month of Tammuz. That's the lover of Ishtar. That's her month. That's her month. It happened at the exact time, happened an exact date of the goddess. The next one happened in 2013, struck down the Defense of Marriage Act. That happened same month, same exact day, month of the goddess, time of the summer solstice, all these pagan things. The last one, which struck down marriage, we all remember that. That happened month of the goddess, days of the goddess, same time, same date, June 26th. And Sid, remember when marriage was changed? Remember when that happened? We all remember it. That night, all over America, rainbows appear. And one of them appears on the White House. You remember that? Well, that night on the ancient calendar, I looked this up in the Bible, was the night that is appointed, the 10th of Tammuz, appointed to cast a spell to cause a man to love a man on that day. It all was determined by the mystery of the God.
No wonder you got blown away when God shows you these revelations. These patterns is what Israel went through when they legally gave access to these demons, and the U.S. has legally given access to these demons. When we return, Jonathan will reveal the third spirit of the dark Trinity, the destroyer. Jonathan, you say the mystery of the gods with a small g is behind everything.
Everything. I can't even begin to tell this time of how much it's behind of. I mean, everything.
I know, I've read.
Wokeness. I mean,
why is America so important?
Well, America is the head of nations right now. Whatever happens to America is going to touch the world. And America, think about it, America, Sid, was founded after the pattern of ancient Israel, from the beginning, for the Puritans. So it's been blessed as Israel was. But the warning even goes back to John Winthrop, the Puritan. He said, if we turn away and go after the gods, then the curses that came on Israel are coming on us. The great people of God, they dealt with gods. Moses, Elijah. We're in the same boat right now, the apostles. Now, let me give you an example. I'll just give you of how it's beyond everything. What we just spoke about in the last part, about how this whole thing about gender, it's so crazy what's happening in our world. Well, it all began there was an event in New York City in the summer, which is called the Stonewall Riots. We've heard of it. That's all this came from that.
This is the destroyer.
Well, before we go into the destroyer,
okay.
But this goes to that. But this is all the gender and the goddess. And the thing is that night, all these signs of the goddess appear in New York City. They converge, even from her mythology. I'll just touch on it. Well, one of the signs when she goes to battle is a sign of a lion's head. A lion's head is there that night in New York City. One of the signs is called the Dance of Ishtar. During that whole riot, they start dancing and they start singing words that go back to the tablets of Mesopotamia with the goddess. The word Stonewall is in the writings of the goddess. It says she breaks the stone wall. It's all there. And there was one woman who actually triggered this whole thing, what we see today. One woman, she triggered the whole thing. And that woman was embodying the goddess. And actually, in the ancient tablets, the goddess is called Storm. They call her, you're the storm. The woman's name was Storm, or Storm A, started the whole storm. And so we see right now, and I'll give you just a little taste without going into what it is. We see the sign of the rainbow all over the place. That goes back to the goddess. There's a mystery there. If anybody had an idea of what this really meant, it doesn't mean what people think it means. They would never raise that.